much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tabitha. Terrific stuff from Rajesh on the fact that London is becoming very much an AI hub. My presentation is regarding what's going on in the UK. So this is very much based on data that we've actually worked with a number of partners. Some of them you probably have recognized. We're an organization, we're private and publicly backed. We work with lots of companies. We've had the privilege of working so far with 350 companies that have raised over $7 billion in the last 15 months in the UK. A lot of them in London as well. So I think you'll get a sense of what's going on in the UK because of the data we've used and also the fact that this is based on over 3,500 respondents to our surveys. So you may or may not have seen this. Who's from London, by the way? Hands up. And who's not from London? OK, we've got a great mix. And who's from outside the UK? Great, terrific stuff. So some of you may have seen this. This is actually work done by a San Francisco-based company called Startup Genome, where they actually looked at a number of hubs around the world. And actually, London comes out third when you look at performance, funding, market, talent, and startup experience. And there are more than 12 ecosystems around the world. There are clearly a lot more than that. When you go deeper into the data, what you find actually is that London is hugely connected. And this has a lot to do with the culture and the city that it is. So they actually surveyed a number of entrepreneurs around the world. They've got deep connected tissue around the world in terms of entrepreneurs. And they found that 25% of world's entrepreneurs report a significant relationship with 2 or more London-based entrepreneurs. So it's actually the second most connected ecosystem, which is not a surprise when you consider that 300 languages are actually spoken in London alone. When you look at the UK specifically, and obviously this is a London-based festival. It's London Tech Week, so I'm going to talk about London and the UK a lot. But just to say that the actual digital economy is growing 2.6x faster than the wider economy. You could argue the wider economy is slowing down. But that's the point. When you look at digital turnover, 170 billion in 2016 to 184 billion. That's staggering growth in 1 year. And obviously, that's putting a lot of pressure on skills, infrastructure in the right way. There's a lot of demand. And to Rajesh's point, when you read the AI report, which I highly recommend, there's a huge demand for AI expertise. In terms of digital tech jobs, so not even jobs that work in digital tech. OK, great. Thank you so much. I need that as well. OK, great. I love gadgets and devices. There's been a huge increase in the number of jobs in just 1 year alone. And every 50 minutes, last year it was every 60 minutes. Now it's every 50 minutes a tech company is actually created in the UK. When you look at jobs as a whole, it's 2.1 million in the UK. So let's say an accountant working in a software business, that's the person in the purple. When you've got an AI engineer working in digital tech, we've got 1.87 million people working in that way. So I'm going to throw a lot of figures and stats at you. Hopefully, you can look at more of this on technation.io. Next, and this is the latest research. This is hot off the press, released yesterday. When you look at venture capital investment, while London is the financial hub for venture capital investment, businesses are actually scaling right across the UK. Bristol, Edinburgh, Manchester. We're very proud of our national network of digital excellence that's growing right across the country. But you can clearly see, and this is no biased opinion. Again, this is data. London is clearly trumping out. And to Rajesh's point, it is the digital capital of Europe. And this did not happen by accident. There's a lot of that goes into this. Policy, investors, entrepreneurs, universities, engagement that happens at the grassroots, but also at the higher level in political and senior levels of society. And actually, when you look at unicorns, unicorns being $1 billion valued businesses, and that is value, OK, fair enough, you can see that actually a lot of them are in the UK. In fact, if you were to take an account, it's 38%. Again, did this not happen by accident? And this is actually using a lot of deal room data. When you take actually a closer look at the types of companies we have, and a lot of these companies are actually featured in the report that the Mayor of London released, You can see the types of companies that they are, but a lot of them are actually driven by algorithmic control. And you've heard a lot about that, about when you look at Deliveroo, which is a logistics company, or a taxi firm, that a lot of the actual business processes are driven by artificial intelligence. But as you can see, you've got a real wide range of companies, which again speaks a lot to the fact of what London and the UK is all about. You've got Funding Circle, which is a fintech business, right through to a logistics company called Deliveroo, right through to Revolut, which is another fintech business, to Blipar, which is a creative tech business. So you've got a real crucible, a real mix of companies that you have in London. And again, that speaks to the diversity of the kind of companies you can find in the UK, in London. When you take a deeper look at Meetup Data, and Meetup Data is, again, it's a San Francisco-based company that actually generates, it's a platform for Meetup, for people to use Meetup Data. The pink stuff is open source. The orange stuff is artificial intelligence. There's a connection there. It's not by accident, it's by design. And then on the other side, you've got blockchain, which is black, and then you've got software design and web design, which is green and blue. What we're seeing is the fast, rapid emergence of blockchain and AI intelligence through the Meetup data that we're looking at. And London and Manchester are at the heart of that. And again, universities, PhD students, big companies like Google and Facebook, that kind of recycling of talent that's going on is building multiple resilient layers of intelligence and expertise. Final few slides. What does it mean for the UK? A study has been actually conducted here in the UK, which actually said that AI will actually drive the economy to £630 billion. Obviously, that's quite far away, but still, it's always good to kind of get an analysis of what could AI mean for the UK economy. And actually, when you look at GVA growth, the gross value add, it goes from 2.5% to 3.9%. So I guess the question on your mind is, well, what about jobs? Because everyone talks about, well, hold on a minute, isn't AI going to kill a lot of jobs? Well, that is true. And here, in some cases, it's going to create a lot more jobs. And that's just evolution. It's just progress. And we as humans have to accept that. We may not like it, we may not like change, but that's what's going to happen. So by 2020, AI will generate 2.3 million jobs, but it might make 1.8 million jobs redundant. And that's just one perspective. That means that there's a net creation of 500,000 jobs. Guess what? We have to evolve with that. We have to create skills and talent that will evolve with that. Long life learning, whatever it might be. People have to evolve with what the dynamic forces are in technology. And actually, when you look specifically, the public sector, the health sector, and the education are expected to benefit, especially for an economy like the UK, which is the 5th largest in the world. But actually, manufacturing and transportation will be impacted. And that's a fact. And that's why you hear a lot about autonomous vehicles and what that will mean for drivers of trucks and so forth. So this is very important information, especially for governments, because governments have a role to play in ensuring that the ecosystem is evolving in such a way that takes society into consideration. And that's why in the UK, there's going to be a new center for data ethics and innovation. But I'll leave you with this final note to say that there's no doubt, from what I'm seeing, and I've been in this role for about 4 years, there's no doubt that London and the UK is creating an AI beehive. What do I mean by a beehive? I'm talking about the layers of expertise, whether it's venture capitalists or entrepreneurs, is making the whole ecosystem as resilient as possible, whether it's Brexit or whatever. It's technological change that's going to be the biggest driver, not necessarily the politics. And we have to accept that. There clearly will be challenges, and there's work to do. But when you think about the number of companies that are based here, the amount of expertise that's based here, the amount of investment going into this, you can't help but actually not be surprised by the fact that a tech company is actually created every 15 minutes. So with that, if you want to explore more, go to technation.io and take a look. Thank you very much.